Park, a new beginning, let's go. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we've been knocking them down. Baby said she wanna go to the game. Taught her how to say Padres gang. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we've been knocking them down. Mitchell and Ness with the old school name. All of the homies holler Padre gang. Yeah, they.
And good day, everybody. Welcome to the Padres versus Dodgers Talking Friars pregame show for July 3rd, 2022. I'm your host, Ben Fadden. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether that's live or on replay. The Padres coming off 3 straight losses now to the Dodgers. They have yet to beat the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium this season. They're going to try to do that today. It's not going to be easy. They're going to face Clayton Kershaw, and the Padres will have Mackenzie Gore on the mound. I'll have my series reaction episode after today's game, and there's probably going to be a lot of frustration because it's not pretty right now from what we're seeing up at Dodger Stadium from the Padres. Starting pitching has been pretty good all 3 games if you think about it. The first 2, Musgrove and Snell pitched well, let a couple batters get to them, and then yesterday, Darvish had the rough first inning, but then after that, those last couple runs, the defense didn't help him out. Azokar was absolute trash in right field, and he settled down. So the big story, obviously, is the offense, and we'll talk a whole lot more about that in the series reaction episode live on YouTube after the game. So stay tuned for that after the game. During the game, at Talking Friars on Twitter will be your destination, your go-to destination for the in-game highlights and all that. So I encourage you to follow that. I encourage you to subscribe to this YouTube channel for daily Padres content, pregame shows, postgame reactions, series reactions, interviews, all that good stuff. Breakdowns as well, sometimes if there's like an ejection or something that happens. But let's get to today's game. Dodgers 49-28. The Padres are 46-34. It'll be back on Bally Sports San Diego today and 97.3 The Fan. It was on Fox yesterday. John Smoltz and Joe Davis, along with Ken Rosenthal, did the game. Obviously, it's not Don and Mud. It's never going to be as good as Don and Mud. And so you kind of just have to set your expectations lower when you're tuning into a national TV game. Game's at 1:10. That is the first pitch. The Padres are in second place right now behind the Dodgers. They are 4.5 games back. They started the series, I believe, 2.5 back. And if they lose today, they'll be 5.5 back. And so you can see why it's so important to win today's game, because you could either be 3.5 back with the win or 5.5 back. And that's a big difference when the Dodgers just seem like they're going to continue winning, and they have a better offense than the Padres do. So these games matter, and they're not going to match up again at Petco until September. I don't think their next matchup is until August. I think that one's at Dodger Stadium. So there's going to be a long period of time where the Padres, they might have an opportunity to make up games, but they're not going to be able to make up games directly with the Dodgers. So winning today's game, you're saving yourself 2 games that you'd have to make up, right? Mackenzie Gore on the mound for the Padres, Clayton Kershaw on the mound for the Dodgers. Mackenzie Gore, last time out against the Phillies, there were some jams that he got into. It was kind of like Nick Martinez. It felt like he was just getting into a ton of jams, but he was able to get out of them, right? That third inning with Bryce Harper up, he got him to pop out to left. They pushed back McKenzie's timeline a couple days, so that's why he's starting now. I mean, it felt like it's been forever since we've seen him last on the mound, and that's kind of because it has been. But his last start against Phillies he 5 innings, didn't give up any runs. He walked 4, which you'd like to see those walks get lower, not as many. 97 pitches. But obviously the only thing that matters is runs. And with this bullpen situation right now, which we can move right into, if he can give Bomel 4 or 5 innings and give up 1 run, no runs, that's going to be good because the bullpen is pretty rested, right? They pitch the guys that aren't going to be pitching in a high leverage situation anyway, usually. That's who they pitched yesterday. Tim Hill, he's not going to be pitching. Ray Kerr obviously would not be pitching in a high leverage situation. Stammen usually wouldn't be pitching in a high leverage situation. I know he pitched in that tie game the other night when Blake Snell was on the mound, but I think that was because they wanted to get or Bob Melvin had a plan going into the game to get Craig Stammen some work. I don't know if getting him some work it would be the right spot or the tie game. I don't think that's the right spot necessarily, but got him some work, and it ended up costing the Padres. I mean, the offense wasn't scoring runs, so it's not a guarantee that even if Stammen didn't pitch, that they would have won the game because I think they lost that game like 5-1 or something. Um, but it's obviously it wasn't ideal that you're pitching Craig Stammen in a tie game. But the good news is if Gore can give 4 or 5 strong innings, hopefully it's 5, maybe it's 6, let's say 5 strong innings, then you can go Chris Matt for a couple innings, and then you can go right to Garcia and Rogers. Because Garcia and Rogers, it feels like Bob Melvin and the coaching staff, Ruben Niebla, all of them, they've been saving Rogers and Garcia for like these high leverage situations, or these situations where the Padres have a lead and they're trying to close the Dodgers out, but they haven't had a lead. So when they haven't had a lead, these guys aren't pitching. So they are really, really fresh. They'll be able to pitch today. I would think that they'd pitch today, maybe even regardless of what the situation is, because Hill's not going to be available. Um, Martinez would be, I guess Martinez is another option because Bob Melvin spoke about that on Friday night after Snell's start, that they'd have Martinez available. They ended up not going to him. So they could piggyback Martinez after Gore. So scratch what I just said. They could go, uh, it would be Gore and then Martinez for a couple. And then you could go Garcia Rogers if you didn't want to use Chris Matt and have him available for tomorrow's game on July 4th, which is another afternoon game. That one's against the Mariners. So I think Martinez could definitely pitch after Gore today. And that could also not put as much pressure on McKenzie because it's been a while since he's pitched. And so if he can only Gore, if he can only go 4 1/3 innings, 5 innings, you can have Martinez still go, 3 innings or something like that if you absolutely need him to, right? So that's the bullpen situation. As for Clayton Kershaw on the mound, last time out for him, he only went 4 innings, gave up 6 earned runs, his worst start of the year easily. Um, the second most runs that he's allowed this season was 4 runs against the Braves early in the year. But he pitched at Coors Field his last start. That was June 28th. Gave up 9 hits. The Padres had 10 hits yesterday, so they can get a lot of hits. But obviously, the Padres haven't had a lot of success off Clayton Kershaw in Kershaw's career. Now, I know that might not be totally accurate in terms of like this current team that they have, because a lot of the guys that Kershaw was facing on the Padres were like Carlos Asuaje and Ryan Schimpf and Chase Headley out of his prime and Chris Denorfia, right? Guys like that. It's not really like Austin Hedges. It's not really representative of like Manny Machado every year. I know it's been 4 years now, but you get what I'm saying. It hasn't been Machado and Tatis and Cronenworth every start of his career against the Padres. Um, But, I mean, yeah, I understand that Kershaw struggled last time out, like I just said, but he still has an ERA under 3. His ERA was down at 180 at one point this year, in May, and now it's up at 294. He hasn't gone a lot of pitches. He has not thrown more than 90 pitches at all this year. So if they can get to him, he might only go 4 or 5 innings. Now, I know with this lineup, it's kinda like, well, Ben, saying, "Can they get to him?" How about, "Can we score 1 run off the starting pitcher?" Right? Um, and that's definitely a question. But if they can get to him, he only goes 4 or 5 innings, and you really get into that bullpen, you don't have to face Kimbrel after the starter like Gonsolin the other night. You get to face maybe some of their less talented guys, and that could set up well for the Padres. But, the question is, can they get to them? Because yesterday, the offense it just wasn't there. You had a Luke Voit homer late. You had a sac fly, but that's not, the Voit home run was meaningless. The sac fly, I mean, the game was over, it felt like in the first inning because you knew that the Padres offense wasn't there. Sean asked, has Mackenzie Gore pitched against the Dodgers yet? No. He has not pitched against them yet. So this will be his first, according to his game logs, that'll be his first start this year against the Dodgers. Anthony says, "Hello, Ben. Good Sunday morning to you. Frustrating weekend of games. Hope for a better result today. Going with Manny for a hit versus Kershaw. Almost took Haas, but I can put cash on. Can't push cash on him, I think is what Anthony's saying. Yeah, my Padre pick today is going to be Hosmer. Manny, he had that single late, but he just hasn't looked great. And looking at the matchups against Kershaw, Manny, he's doing well, 276. Hosmer's hitting 314 though off of him. I know it's left on left. I'm just not really confident in like anyone in this lineup. So I'm kind of just tossing names into a hat and picking one at this point. But yesterday, my Padre pick was Luke Voigt, and that turned out being great. He went 2 for 4 with the home run. So I'm 47-26 now so far this season in my pregame show Padre pick. Hopefully another one is correct, and that leads to a Padres win so that they don't get swept. And I'm not talking about the Padres being total. I mean, they've already been embarrassed, but like swept under the rug, literally. Um, Hopefully, we're not talking about the Dodgers fans bringing out the brooms in our Twitter mentions after the game. So Gore and Kershaw is the pitching matchup. Gore's ERA is 3.34. Kershaw's is 2.94. The Padres lineup is out. The Dodgers lineup, I don't believe it's out. Last time I checked, it wasn't out. Yeah, it's not out yet. But the Padres, they're going to be rolling out Jerkson Profar leading off. Manny Machado's hitting second. He's at third base, so that's good to see him play third base back-to-back days. He made a really good play yesterday, a couple good plays yesterday. One was a bare hand running in on Trey Turner. I have that on the Talking Friars Twitter if you missed that. And that one play deep at third, and he had to throw, I think, Turner out. So he's not moving amazing, but he's moving well enough to be making these plays. Crony's going to be batting third, hitting second. I like him there. Voigt and then Hosmer. Hosmer's playing first. Voigt's DHing. Alfaro, this is an encouraging sign as well. Manny playing back-to-back days at third, and then Jorge Alfaro starting at catcher. Remember, this week they haven't really been, or this weekend in this series at Dodger Stadium, the Padres have not really been too confident in Alfaro catching. Specifically, Snell, they had Nola catch him because they didn't want Alfaro to be on his knees all the time with all of the breaking balls and the dirt that Snell throws. They weren't confident in putting him out there again yesterday starting. So I believe this is the first time that he started this weekend at catcher for the Dodgers. He's been DHing. So that's encouraging. Looks like his knee's doing better, obviously, if they're confident enough in having him catch. They had Camposano on the taxi squad in case they needed Alfaro to be put on the IL and they needed Camposano, but that seems like it's not going to be needed, at least for today. Ha-Sung Kim is batting seventh at shortstop. Trent Grisham batting eighth in center. And Jose Azocar is batting ninth in right field after having a terrible day defensively in right field. They brought in Mazzara. He made a good play. Look, I don't understand why they're not giving Nomar Mazzara the chance to hit against lefties. Like, they're not. I understand his splits aren't great, but he's a better power option than Jose Azocar is in right field in any position that they play because it's at the plate. It doesn't matter what your defense is. And the Padres right now, it is a home run game. The Dodgers have 7 home runs in this series. The Padres have 2 home runs. Like, it's clear that the Padres need more power threats. If Mazzara is going to strike out, okay. I think he's been putting the ball in play pretty well. Mazzara, like, he's just the more dangerous option at the plate than Azocar. No pitcher. Kershaw is going to walk out to the mound and face Jose Azocar, and he's like, cool, this guy's not going to go deep off me. Well, if Mazzara was up, maybe he'd be a little more careful. You're not scaring anyone with Jose Azocar up at the plate. And it would be one thing if Azocar was, making all this contact and the Padres were winning games with situational stuff, but that's not what's happening. It's plain and simple. Power is the big thing in this series and why the Padres are not at the same level of the Dodgers right now. So give Nomar Mazzara that chance. You can't see if he's going to fail or do well against lefties until you bring him back out there. Try it. The offense has scored like 4 runs in this series. It won't hurt to put Mazzara out there. That's my thoughts on that. If you guys disagree and you'd rather have a Zokar in the lineup over Mazzara, let me know. But I think that they just need to give Mazzara a chance to hit against a lefty. I know Kershaw's tough, but so are the other pitchers that the Padres have faced in this series. They haven't really done anything off of them. And my what to watch for today, can those high leverage guys will they pitch? Because Garcia and Rogers, I mentioned it earlier when I talked about the bullpen situation, they have not pitched days and days and days. Like Bob Melvin, it feels like he's waiting for a situation where the Padres have a lead, but it's like, come on, they don't have a lead. And it feels like today would be a day where, regardless of what the score is, you put them in the game so that they can get some work. And it's enough. Moving back to the offense, it's enough without hitting the Dodgers. That's not good enough. You got to hit home runs. You got to have extra base hits. Enough of these Kim singles to center and then Voit not being sent. I'm not saying I disagree with him not being sent, but my point is these singles with runners in scoring position, these little doinkers into center, that's not enough. You got to drive guys in literally. Having one sack fly and a home run when you're down 5, that's not going to be good enough. You got to actually hit home runs, especially when the other team like the Dodgers have 5 more home runs than you do in this series. It just, you just got to give the pitching run support. Like there's so much pressure right now on the pitching staff. Like we saw Darvish. You gave up 3 home runs. You have a bad first inning, and you feel like the game's over. I know that the starting pitching's been great, but they can't have that much pressure on them. The Padres offense, it has to show up. And there's been some voicemails that have come in, or one main voicemail that I'll play on the series reaction episode live on YouTube tonight after the game. And feel free if you have any thoughts on this offense or on anything about the Padres, any solutions, feel free to hit up the voicemail number, just like the voicemail guy that I'm going to talk or that I'm going to play later today did at 619-335-5770. Again, 619-335-5770. Just dial up that number to give your thoughts, and I'll play them tonight on the series reaction episode after the game. And he was talking about solutions. I'll talk about some solutions, some in-house solutions. What is solution? In-house solutions that I think the Padres should consider tonight. And we're going to be 81 games through the season after today's game. So we'll look over the playoff picture and all that. So that'll be coming up after the game. Again, at Talking Friars for the in-game highlights. So stay tuned for that. Quan asks, who are the best base stealers on the team? Probably Abrams, Azokar, Alfaro. When he steals, he's kind of sneaky fast, but he's not a base stealer, obviously. Yeah, and Anthony, you bring up rather see Jorge Mateo back. I think he's been playing pretty well with the Orioles. Well, I mean, yeah, it's too late. I feel like they're kind of like the same guy, and Mateo just wasn't working here. And Azokar, he came in and he's been with the team pretty much the entire year because AJ Preller didn't go get more outfield help, right? They brought up Azokar instead of Mazzara to begin the year, and then Myers got hurt, and they brought up Rooker, sent him down. They brought up Mazzara. That might have been when Cano was DFA'd, but they brought up Mazzara, and so Azokar has been able to stay on the team. And they like his defense, but that's pretty much all you're going to get from him, right? And Esther Ruiz is another option. I'm definitely going to get into him tonight, later today after the game. But if you have any more in-house options, feel free to let me know in the chat during the episode tonight and through the voicemail number if you want. Again, 619-335-5770. Anthony says he'd go for CJ Abrams out there in the outfield. He has to be an improvement. You're right, but okay, so Alcantara got DFA'd, and if CJ's in the outfield, so who's going to be playing? Well, okay, so Manny, I guess Manny. Yeah, my bad. So Manny would play third, but do you want him playing third every day with the ankle? But let's say he plays third and you have Kim at short, you have Crony at second, and you have Haas at first or Voit, and then the other guy DHing. Um, okay, you have CJ out in the outfield, but he hasn't played the outfield every day. So the Padres going to put him out there in the outfield every day, and he's going to play center, and he's going to take at bats away from Grisham. I know Grisham hasn't been great, but CJ hasn't been amazing either, right? So I don't know. Yeah, Quan, you're right. They still have Matthew Batten, who they just called up for this series. But again, he's a AAA guy that probably is would fit better in AAA and not on the roster. Um, and they sent Alcantara down for Batten. Like when Tatis comes back, Batten's obviously not going to be on the team. I would think. So it's not like he's a guy that I would be, loving to start every day, right? They just don't have a ton of options on the major league roster that would give them power. So that's why I'm just looking for in-house options elsewhere. And there's going to be out-of-house options, and we'll definitely can talk about that. And Irie says in-house options or no options to me. I definitely can agree with part of that. Yeah, I think there are some options in-house. Um, are those options better than Ramon Laureano or Brian Reynolds or even like Ian Happ? Probably not. And in fact, no. But when you're going out of house, you're gonna have to give up stuff. And I don't know if Preller's willing to do that right now in the season. He's busy playing basketball at the La Jolla gym. Any other questions? Any other comments here? Yeah, my Padre pick today is Hosmer. 110's the first pitch. Valley Sports San Diego, 97.3 the fan. Padres are trying to keep themselves from being 5.5 back. They're trying to get to 3.5 back. Again, that's a 2-game swing. That's pretty big. It's as much of a must-win game as there is. Getting 4 games swept, that's really, really bad. One asks, will Gore go over 5? You hope so, but they have Nick Martinez available, so I don't know if my bet is he would go 5 innings, and then they'd have Martinez come in just to use Martinez, and Gore hasn't pitched in a while, so they maybe don't want to overwork him. I know you could also say, well, Ben, he hasn't pitched in a while, so they can work him a lot. But I think they also do want to be careful with his arm. So I think Martinez would go in after Gore, and then you could go Garcia Rogers. Um, the Dodger lineup I still don't think is out yet. The Peacock game right now is Royals and Tigers. No one cares at all about that, but I saw something interesting that they don't have the traditional commentators in this game. What they have is literally sideline reporters, and then they're just showing the game with no commentators. It's just the ballpark noise. And it's like, there were some people that liked it and they were like, I like this option. But it's like, okay, then go to the game. Like, it's just weird to just be sitting there listening to the ballpark. Like, go to the game then if you want that. Just to not have any commentator. I know their commentators or the Peacock ones have been better than Apple TV Plus. I haven't watched any of those. I only watch them if the Padres are playing. So I haven't watched them since. But from what I saw, the Peacock broadcasters, that booth is better than Apple, obviously. Clearly, I think. But to not have any just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'm sure no one's even watching that game anyway. So if you're trying to experiment, that's the game to do it, I guess. Not like Mets, Braves, or anything like that, but Royals, Tigers. Um, but I still think that's weird. The Cardinals hit 4 straight home runs yesterday, so they got a lot of love. I think that's the Sunday night game tonight. Cardinals and the Phillies, I want to say. Yeah, Cardinals, Phillies. I think they have the ESPN2 A-Rod broadcast with that as well. Dodgers lineup still not out. I was just trying to talk a little bit to see if the lineup would be out. The Diamondbacks and the Rockies finish up their series at a little after noon today. The Giants are hosting the White Sox to finish off their series, and the Mariners are hosting the A's at 1:10, same time as the Padre game, before they head on down to San Diego to face off against our Padres tomorrow at 3:40. I'll be at that game. I'll probably be doing the pregame show live from Petco, so stay tuned for that as well. Any other comments, any questions here before I get out of here? Quan says we need to talk about Grisham's approach at the plate. What is there to talk about? He doesn't change it. He doesn't swing at the first pitch. Even Smoltz was talking about it on the broadcast. He needs to swing at the first pitch here. It was late in the game. Didn't really matter, but just change your approach. Nope, fastball, strike. He doesn't swing at the first pitch. That's his approach, I guess. Wants to see the pitcher, not really aggressive. And usually, when you're facing a really good pitching staff like the Dodgers, when you take the first pitch, you're down on the count 0-1. That's not a good spot to be. Yeah, he falls to 0-2 a lot. Quan, you said that. Yeah, I agree. Yep. Falls to 0-2, and then you can do whatever you want with him. You can throw it fastball in, up and in. You can go curveball, breaking ball in the dirt, and get him that way. Ground out, some lazy pop-ups. That's why he's hitting at the bottom of the order. He's not the same guy that he was in 2020. It felt like in 2020 he was more aggressive. That aggression's kind of gone now. So, yeah, we'll see what he can do today, hitting, I think, 8th in the lineup. That's going to do it for the July 3rd Padres-Dodgers Talking Friars pregame show. I'm Ben Fadden, your host. Thank you for watching live or on replay. Again, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button for daily Padres content here on the Talking Friars YouTube channel. Have a good one, everyone, at Talking Friars for the highlights during the game, and I'll have a series reaction after the game. See you later. Enjoy the game, everybody.